The European Commission says that Apple is still out of compliance with the Digital Markets Act. Mercedes network, known as the Mercedes-Benz high-power charging network, was first announced in January, and by the end of the fall will have its first stations on 3 continents. As a result, Cyberpunk 2, previously known under the codename as Project Orion, has progressed into the pre-production phase. Hello everyone, welcome to your weekly tech update, the show that explores the newest, coolest, and just fascinating side of the interwebs, sometimes a little weird as well. I am your tech leader, Ray McNeil. Coming up on the program today, Apple's App Store rules are still in violation of EU policy, so says a judge, so they have some more work to do. Happy Gilmore returns to theaters July 25th, and we have the new trailer for you. Happening in this week's What The? A wild video showing a tire shooting off a truck on a freeway, then sending another vehicle flying into the air. And of course, we'll wrap up the program with this week's Moment of Joy. All that and a whole lot more coming up on today's edition of your weekly tech update. Next. Are you kidding me? After levying a $500 million fine against Apple in April, the European Commission says that Apple is still out of compliance with the Digital Markets Act and now has less than 30 days remaining to comply. The DMA requires that Apple allows developers to inform their customers about sales and other offers outside of the App Store. Now, in the 68-page document released from the EC's April decision, the Commission found that Apple's policies were plainly anti-competitive and said that the company added unnecessary hurdles referred to as anti-steering rules to completing external transactions. One such anti-steering strategy the EC took umbrage with was Apple's scare sheets. When users clicked to navigate to an external payment system, well, a message would appear reading, "You're about to go to an external website. Apple is not responsible for the privacy or security of purchases made on the web." Apple could face hefty periodic penalty payments as high as 5% of daily global revenue if the company doesn't bring the policies into compliance with the EU. In a statement to 9 to 5 Mac, Apple expressed its disappointment with the newly released details, saying, quote, "There is nothing in the 70-page decision released that justifies the European Commission's targeted actions against Apple." You sure about that? Which threatens the privacy and security of the Apple users in Europe and forces Apple to give away the technology for free. Later in the statement, the company called the decision bad for innovation, bad for competition, bad for our products, and bad for users. Apple will appeal the decision before the June 22nd deadline laid out in the EC's decision, and we'll keep you updated as soon as we hear more. Mercedes-Benz is set to join the likes of Tesla and NIO by offering its own charging network for electric vehicles. Mercedes network, known as the Mercedes-Benz high-power charging network, was first announced in January, and by the end of the fall will have its first stations on 3 continents. They will be in Atlanta, Georgia, China, and Germany. Mercedes will continue expanding the network, and by the end of the decade expects to have over 2,000 stations worldwide, offering access to more than 10,000 DC fast charging points combined. The stations are being rolled out at main traffic areas and select dealerships and offer other nearby amenities. The Tesla Supercharger network currently has just over 6,000 locations. Depending on the region, the stations will offer charging rates up to 400 kilowatts. In North America, Mercedes is working with charging network technology company ChargePoint. The involvement of MN8 Energy, which also is a solar energy and battery company, will help ensure customers have access to renewable energy. In its previous announcement, Mercedes said that the network will have over 400 stations in North America by 2027, which combined will have more than 2,500 fast charging points. The station will be open for EVs from all brands, though. Mercedes owners will have the exclusive option of reserving a charging point, while other brands will not have that available, at least to start. The stations will also feature plug and charge, meaning eligible vehicles will have the charging and payment processing activated as soon as the cable is plugged in. Mercedes also announced in July that it plans to adopt the NACS standard for the North American market, starting this year. Despite establishing its own charging network, Mercedes will continue to support the expansion of the Ionity network in Europe, plus a new North American network also backed by 6 other automakers. Once Cyberpunk 2077 worked out its so many kinks, it was a pretty good game. And more is on the way. CD Projekt Red said on Wednesday that its sequel has now moved into pre-production. It wasn't a secret that a sequel was in the works. In 2022, CDPR shared a roadmap describing Project Orion, saying it would further develop the potential embodied by the Cyberpunk 2077 universe. That was as clear as you can get without using the word sequel. Now CDPR is shedding the codename as development forges ahead. Several weeks ago, the CD Projekt Red team responsible for the big game set in the Cyberpunk universe completed the project's conceptual phase, the publisher wrote. As a result, Cyberpunk 2, previously known under the codename as Project Orion, has progressed into the pre-production phase. Following the fiasco last time, expect CDPR to play it safe and take its time with the final stages. On a related note, CDPR said Phantom Liberty has now sold over 10 million copies. The massive expansion, launched on PC and consoles in late 2023, is part of Cyberpunk's 2077 Ultimate Edition, which includes the base game and, of course, all of the DLCs. That version arrived on PC and consoles in 2023. It will be heading to the Switch too, and even macOS soon as well.